It's 8:42. It's time to meet the hottest new watch on AliExpress. This is Pierre Paulin Jump Hour. My relationship with AliExpress watches is complicated. There are just as many reasons for hating them as there are for loving them. I generally loathe the complete lack of originality of brands that are focused on not only ripping off designs, but ripping off famous designs of watches that are still in production, such as the Submariners, the Speedmasters, or the Black Base of the world. I personally don't understand people that would buy such replicas, but to each their own, I guess. On the other hand, AliExpress is home to a few brands that focus on original designs or homages of watches so obscure they seem to be original design. Seagull, Baltony, Lobini, or newcomers Borman produce some affordable good-looking watches that are just different to the clones most uninformed watch enthusiasts end up buying. One of the brands that caught my eye is Merkur. This is actually a group that produces watches branded as Merkur, Cézanne, FOD, and Pierre Paulin. Of those, Pierre Paulin specializes in dressy watches, and today's timepiece is no exception. While sharing some components with other watches in Merkur's roster, this is an ambitious step the Chinese manufacturer has taken, as it's one of the only 2 jump hour timepieces currently available on AliExpress. And if this watch is an example of what's good about AliExpress watches, the other one is the polar opposite. One of the reasons the timepieces sold on the Chinese website have a somewhat sketchy reputation. But more on that later. This review kicks off with a case which is as generic as they come, but by saying that, all I mean is the Merkur group use it for many of their watches. In fact, both the design and the execution would warrant at least triple the price should they bear the name of a Swiss or Japanese brand. We're talking about an all-brushed 38 by 47mm construction whose 12.5mm height is partially disguised by a really nice step-down 2-volume bezel sitting on a nicely curved midsection that ends in drilled 20mm lugs. The screwed down caseback is etched with the same lion's head you can find on all Merkur watches. While this case is the same Pierre Paulin have used for their big hit of 2022, the sector dial Levé, this new watch has an upgraded caliber, the Seagull ST1731. This upgrade makes this the first of 2 watches powered by a variation of the ST17 caliber to be featured on my channel. I am planning the review of the ST1721 Perpetual Regulator mid-August, so you might want to subscribe to my channel in order not to miss it. Obviously, the star of the show is the dial. It should be noted there's a white dial option available too, $6 cheaper than this $135 salmon variant, and that white dial can be downsized to a 36mm watch should your wrist be smaller than 6 inches. Coming back to the salmon dial, its metallic sheen serves as the perfect background for the beautiful Breguet-styled numerals and the dotted minute markers. Moving towards the center, there's a nice sunken area where radial grooves do a wonderful job of changing the texture and allowing a very subtle light play that brings a much needed dynamic character to a dial devoid of the sweep of a big seconds hand. Speaking of the seconds hand, it rotates in a perfectly proportioned disc that replicates the configuration of the dial. Small plain circle painted with dotted markers and a sunken radially grooved disc that contains the small seconds hand. So, to summarize, we're talking about 4 different vertical planes executed flawlessly. Not bad at all. What I believe was the only mistake Pierre Paulin made was adjusting the minute hand's length to the seconds dial rather than to the minute track, leading to a shorthand that would be better suited to indicating hours in a classic setup. Even so, I believe they could have moved the Breguet-styled hand loop decoration slightly more towards the tip so it would frame the hour cutout instead of half obstructing it. Speaking of the Art Deco hour cutout, both its design and execution are as good as any. The matching Breguet-style numerals are crisp and big enough to make telling the time a rather fast enterprise, but my particular watch has the slight issue of jumping at 5 past. Nothing my repair technician can't fix in 10 minutes. Under the cutout, there's a nicely applied platform for the logo and the automatic inscription. Merkur watches come with mineral glass crystals, and in this particular case it nicely completes the vintage appeal. The very tall boxed crystal creates beautiful reflections and distortions, and despite not having an anti-reflective coating, it ensures great legibility in most lighting situations. The strap the watch came with is a surprisingly qualitative genuine suede two-piece. However, I don't believe neither texture nor color are complementary to the coppery dial, so here's me putting a strap show for you guys to help me decide on the appropriate combo. So after watching the review, please head on to the community tab and cast your vote. I promised I'd come back to the only other Jump Hour watch available on AliExpress and the reasons why it's emblematic for how bad AliExpress watches can get. Let's start with the obvious. These guys have no clue how the Jump Hour works. How on earth can a watch designer use this complication in a watch that has the only hand pointing at hour markers? The only way to explain this atrocity would be that they thought of doing a jumping minute watch without realizing Seagull only makes jumping hour complications. But looking at the description of the watch, it soon becomes clear they're just totally out of clue. What the hell is stereo design? What the hell is artificial sapphire? Is this a 43.5mm watch or a 42mm watch? So many questions, one obvious answer. And the price? $180? 33% more than this beautiful, perfectly functional watch? Thanks, but no thanks. Well, I guess this leaves the Pierre Paulin Jump Hour as the most affordable Jump Hour watch on the market. The second on the list would probably be Mr. Jones' Last Laugh, but that watch costs almost $300. So if you're looking for an extremely affordable dressy watch with a left field complication and beautiful execution, look no further. By the way, during my couple of hours of research, I couldn't find any design at least remotely similar to this one, so I guess you can add Originality to the list. Well done, Pierre Paulin.